when we look at addition, it turns out that with special types of addition questions, we can actually compactify all that adding into this really cool thing called multiplying, taking the products of numbers. I want us to think about multiplication as really just a way of combining equal groups of things. Let's take a look at an example which involves fruit. Very, very helpful. And of course, thinking math, also very helpful. Here we go. Well, Thomas bought 3 apples and Sydney bought 5 peaches. Question for us is, which weighed more, the 3 apples or the 5 peaches? And then how much more? Well, this table is going to be very important because this tells us the weight in ounces for each of the kind of fruits we have here. And so we know that Thomas bought 3 apples, and so we have 3 apples, and each apple actually weighs 6 ounces. So how can we model this? Well, we could actually model this by just thinking about what the 3 apples might look like. I'm just going to represent them with 3 circles. So that represents the 3 apples. And then we see that each of the 3 apples themselves actually weigh 6 ounces. So 6 ounces here, 6 ounces here, and 6 ounces here. In fact, if I kind of want to try to illustrate that, I might want to do that with just these little teeny circles to kind of represent kind of the ounces that these apples contain. It's kind of a silly way of representing it, but you see the idea is that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ounces here and 6 ounces here and 6 ounces here. So how many ounces in all, right? How much do all 3 of these apples weigh? Just a matter of adding up 6 plus 6 plus 6. And if we add 6 plus 6 plus 6, we know what we get because we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we know, in fact, that 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18, in this case, 18 ounces. Now, here's the really cool thing. Check it out. Notice that we're combining equal groups. 6 plus 6 plus 6. 6 plus 6 plus 6. We're combining equal groups, in this case, 3 times. So even the way we say it, 3 times, also cues us in that this is going to be actually something that involves taking a product, times. And so the way we could write this exact same idea is to write 6 times 3. And here's how it would look. 6 times 3. And we see the answer is 18. And so in this product, this is the answer, is the product. And the way we built the product by taking the 6, which is called a factor, and multiplying it by another factor. So if we take a factor and multiply it by a factor, the answer is the product. And so you can see exactly what this means. This says I'm taking 6 3 times. 6 plus 6 plus 6. They're the 3 times. So you can see how that represents it. The 3 apples, and each apple has 6 ounces. And when we take their product, that represents the number of ounces in all. Isn't that neat? So now you can see kind of if you're combining equal groups, then in fact it's the same thing as actually multiplying. It's a nice way, compact way of writing that. Now that's just Thomas. Now what about Sydney? Now Sydney bought 5 peaches, and each peach weighs 3 ounces. So how would we model this? Well, one way we could model this is bring on 5 peaches. Let me just move all this stuff up here so we can enjoy all of this together. Okay, so now we have 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 peaches, and each peach weighs 3 ounces. So we can kind of model that if we wanted to by bringing in ounces into each peach. And so now, how many ounces are there total? We just have to add up the ounces. There's 3 here, 3 here, 3 here, 3 here. There's 3 5 times. So actually that already cues us into how we're going to look at this. But we could write it in terms of an addition challenge by saying it is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. And if you add them all up, we see we get 15. Right? 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So 15 ounces. Great. But now let's think about what we're saying. We're combining 5 groups of 3 each. And so I can write that as an equivalent multiplication fact. And the way we'd write it as a multiplication fact would be exactly like this. So we have 3 peaches. We have 5 peaches. So 5 is one of the factors. And each of the peaches weighs 3 ounces. And so how many do we have together? Well, we have 5 peaches times the 3 ounces that each peach weighs, and that yields the product of 15. In this case, 15 ounces. And so you can see that we take 3 and we're combining 5 versions of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the 5. So this statement and this statement are equivalent. This is the addition, combining equal groups, and here we're just compactifying that into multiplication. So now we can compare. Okay, so with the apples, we see that the 3 apples weigh 18 ounces, and the 5 peaches weigh only 15 ounces. 18 is greater than 15, so we see that the 3 apples actually weigh more than the 5 peaches, and we can say how much more. So how much more do they weigh? Well, that's just a subtraction question, right? Because I want to know how much larger is 18 from 15. So I take 18 and subtract 15, and the difference is 3 ounces. And so what I see is that the apples, in fact, weigh 3 ounces more than the peaches. And what's interesting about this is that notice that we only had 3 apples, and we have 5 peaches. And so you might think, wow, since we have so many peaches, that would be the bigger one. Well, remember, if we're talking about weight, the peaches weigh a lot less than the apples. And so that's why this is an interesting little question, because even though we're only adding up a few things, 3 things, the things we're adding up are much larger. Here we're adding up tiny things, and we have a bunch of them. So we could convert 6 plus 6 plus 6 to 6 times 3, and we can convert 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 to 5 times 3. Either way, we see the connection. Multiplication and addition really are joined together in interesting ways. And you just don't have to look at the ideas of math. You can actually see them concretely when you're thinking about fruit. And in fact, someone here gave me this apple. It's like an apple for a teacher. But wait a minute. Hey, this is fake. This is a fake one. Luckily, I happen to have in my pocket a real one, which I'm going to get out right now. Real one. And this one's real. I'll prove it to you right now. And remember, never do math with your mouth full. I'll see you soon.
So let's talk a little bit more about relating multiplication and addition, because multiplication is just a fast way to add. So it's repeated addition. So we're going to look at relating multiplication and addition and looking at it as being repeated addition. On your screen, you have the equation of 4 times 3 equals 12. The numbers 4 and the numbers 3 are called factors. Factors, okay? A factor is a number that you are multiplying, okay? So the number 4 and the number 3 are called factors. Your answer, or the answer to a multiplication problem, is always going to be called your product. The answer to a multiplication problem is called the product, all right? So let's keep that in mind as we're working through these multiplication equations and as we are learning to multiply. All right. The 2 numbers we're multiplying are called your factors. So in this particular equation, your factors are 4 and 3. Your product is the answer, which in this equation is 12. All right. Now let's talk a little bit more about adding and multiplication with some examples. Okay. So here's your first example. Look at the picture on your screen. How many circles do you see? 4. So that means there are 4 groups. How many stars or X's or stars are in each circle? 3. So each group has an equal number of stars. So that means we can multiply. Remember, we multiply equal groups. I have 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 groups, okay? Now, when I'm adding repeatedly, I'm adding the same number over and over again, okay? So in the first group, I have 1, 2, 3 stars. My second group, I also have 3 stars. My third group, I have 3 stars. My fourth group, I have 3 stars. I'm going to count all of these stars all together and see how many I have all together. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So my product, or my answer, I guess, in this addition equation, my sum, is 12. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12 altogether. I can take the same equation and I can write it as a multiplication equation based on the picture that I see here. Okay, so I'm going to take my number of groups, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, because I have 4 circles, and I'm going to multiply that by the number of counters in each circle. And I found that out by looking at my repeated addition. And my first circle had 3 in it. My second circle had 3. My third circle had 3. And my fourth circle had 3. So I'm multiplying 4 times 3. And I'm going to get my same answer of 12. So what you see here is 2 different ways that I can write an equation based on this picture. I can write it as repeated addition, as 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 12. Or I can write it as a multiplication equation of 4 times 3 equals 12, where the factors being 4 and 3 and my product of 12, okay? Remember, when we're multiplying, I need to have the same number in each group, okay? Let's look at another example together. Let's look at our second example. Have a second to look at the picture and think about what numbers I would be adding up repeatedly. So what numbers would I add over and over and over again in this equation if I wanted to write a repeated addition equation? Okay. So our first group plus our second group plus our third group plus our fourth group plus our fifth group is how many altogether? First group has how many? 1, 2, 4. My second group has 4. My third group has 4. You notice they are all equal groups. Now, I have 5 groups of 4. So if I just wanted to go ahead and write my multiplication equation, I would have my 5 groups times my 4 in each group. How many green stars do I have altogether? I have 20. So 5 times 4 equals 20. So this is repeated addition. When I'm doing repeated addition, I'm adding the same number over and over and over again, right? Let me show you a different format, but we're going to be doing the same thing, okay? What if my teacher gives me a problem that says it's 4 groups of 2? What would I do? Exactly, I would draw a picture. I'm going to start with my groups. My problem says I need 4 groups of 2. So I'm going to start with doing 4 groups. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. It's groups of 2. So I'm going to put 2 in each group. 1, 2 in the first group. 1, 2 in the second group. 1, 2 in the next group. 2. All right. So look at your picture. Do I have 4 groups? And did I put 2 in each group? Yes. Okay. So now I can write my repeated addition equation to match this picture. I have 4 groups, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What am I adding? 1, 2 in the first group, 2 in the next group, 2 in the next group, and 2 in the next group. How many do you have altogether if you add that up and find the sum? 8. Very good. I have 8 altogether. So this is a repeated addition sentence to match this picture. Let's do multiplication. Number of groups times how many in the group. 4 groups and 2 in each group. 4 times 2 equals 8. I'm still going to get the same product as I did when I was doing the repeated addition because my picture did not change. In your assignment that's coming up, you're going to be asked to be writing and showing me repeated addition equations for the pictures that you see. And then you might be given a problem such as 4 groups of 2. You're going to be asked to draw the groups and write the repeated addition equation. Okay? You're going to do great, and I can't wait to see the work when you are done.